日本時間20日、エンゼルスはレイズとの試合前、大谷翔平がロサンゼルス市内のカーラン・ジョーブクリニックで右肘靭帯の手術を受けたと発表しました。手術を行った医師によりますと、手術は無事成功し、ピッチャーとしては再来年のシーズン、バッターとしては来シーズンの開幕から復帰できる見通しだということです。アメリカの TV では連日のように、来シーズンの大谷の復帰時期や、大谷の起用法など、様々な議論が繰り広げられています。その中から興味深いシーンをピックアップして、日本語字幕付きでご紹介していきます。MLB Now では、ニューヨークポストのスポーツライタージョエル・シャーマン氏が、大谷の起用が引き起こすロースター編成の問題について力説していました。
I want to say as we talk about Ohtani, but he's not jaking it as we used to say, right? Like he's getting after it. He's doing double duty. But I thought there was a lot of mishandling of him this year, and a lot of it, I wonder now, the way the week broke, Joel, I don't know how you feel about it. It seems to be a lot of it is incumbent upon him. A lot of it is like, well, he wanted to play the second game of a doubleheader. He wanted to start on Patriots Day at 11:30 in the morning in the rain. He wanted to do that. And if the Angels are going along with it, well, then you have a guy who is empowered to do what he did this weekend.
Yeah, I think it would not be human nature nor somebody who has representation to not be thinking about free agency and what every little thing he does on and off the field means to him. Would the press conference be good for his free agency? Probably not. Nobody's going to care. No team's going to sit there and go, oh, I wish he would have done a free agency. If something blows up in the free agency, in the press conference, it's
I don't know.
Like,
if I'm a team president somewhere else, I'm thinking there's a proper way of handling that.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was handled
properly. I don't think it's worth 1 cent out there for where he ultimately is. Look,
would it affect me? Can I jump in? Would it affect you? If you're looking from the outside, Ruben would say, the way this is being handled, would it affect you at all or no?
Not too much. I mean, I have to find out more about the player himself. I would have to get into his brain a little bit and get a little bit more information and talk to the...
Well, what's your view of what you've seen this year?
I think he's doing everything he can to maximize his value. And if I'm a GM and I'm in one of those, if I'm making decisions, he's a special player. There's nobody like him. I get it. But my take on this is that if I'm a GM, I sign this guy as a hitter only. And I'll tell you why. He's already breaking down. He's 29.
Ruben, I'm with you, but he will probably say no to that, right? Or at least until he can.
And then I don't sign him. But
that's where you're at.
If I'm comparing him to the rest of the world as far as the offense alone, I mean, we can bring up the numbers here. To me, the comp is Aaron Judge.
He's close.
Aaron Judge, he's got a lot of things. And when you start talking about what he is as far as what his platform was, his platform year, obviously you have to factor in some of that pitching stuff. But my take is that this guy is not, if you get anything pitching out of him, that's a bonus.
I'm with you on that. Last 3 years, he's hitting just below Judge and right around where Trout is.
All about offense.
What's your take on that?
If you bring him in, if you attempt to tell him he's only going to hit, you don't even get a meeting. With him.
Right.
This is
by the way, would be fine with me.
And I'd have to walk away with it. I'd just walk away.
Right. He wants to do this.
Right.
He wants to try to do this for as long as possible. I would say on the other hand, I do believe he's a totally committed player. I think he's the most special player I've ever seen. But there is a tactical issue if you commit to him, and we've seen it with the Angels, that you have to consider if you're going to do it. You mentioned, what's your payroll? If you have him at full strength, you still need 5 other starters. Right. If you have 6 starters, it means you're operating at all times with 7 relievers and not 8. Right? If he's your DH, it means you need 8 position players at all time, none of whom could get rest time as a DH during the season. There is this other thing that goes on as you manage him while he's doing both of these things that cost money beyond his money, that is roster issue, construction issue. So he is, bizarrely, he's the most special player I've ever seen, but he's a heavily managed player that causes you unique roster construction issues.
And that's why you utilize him only as an offensive player. Put him in right field, let him DH, and go at it.
Completely fair, and I agree with you, but that won't get the player, which I would be fine with. And I wonder how much of the rest of the league thinks that while we hear 500, 600, you can't pay this guy enough. Okay, StatCast is powered by Google Cloud. Take a look at some of the StatCast numbers. Here's what we're talking about. It's not even just that, well, no, he's kind of clinging to this pitching thing. It's like, no, as a hitter, hard hit percentage ex-WOBA, that's the quality of contact, 98th percentile at the very top. ex-Woba as a pitcher now. That was down to 63rd percent, but the strikeout percentage, he misses bats at an elite rate at 94th percent. He might be the best pitcher in the game if he just pitched. Even though I agree with you,
but he's not going to sit. He's going to break.
And yet, you're right. From what I've seen this week, I would be loath to make that move.
また、MLB セントラルからは、アメリカのスポーツライター兼レポーターのジョン・モロージ氏が、大谷の2024年開幕復帰に太鼓判を押していました。
That he will be able to be a DH from the beginning of 2024. That's a pretty important development that they believe he'll be able to come back and play from the very start, at least as a hitter. We'll see what happens on the mound. That's sort of a separate conversation. But Lauren, to your point, we don't know where he's going to sign. And certainly there's a lot of projections out there. Generally speaking, I would say this, that once the Angels went all in at the trade deadline, and they've struggled so much since then, his health has obviously gone the other way since then. None of that has helped the situation or helped the chances of him returning to the Angels. He may see that the better opportunity to compete in 2024 is likely elsewhere. He may decide that the best place for him to rehab this elbow surgery is elsewhere. So I do think the last 6 weeks have created a situation in which it's more likely that he goes somewhere else. But Lauren, when you think about Ohtani and the way this year has played out, you assume anything at your own peril. What we do believe is that in the coming days, this week, we should have more information about exactly what kind of surgery Shohei has and when he's going to be able to get back on the mound, because that's one other thing that Nesbalello has said. Ohtani does want to come back as a two-way player at some point.
また、アメリカのポッドキャスト番組ロックドオンエンジェルスでは、エンゼルス側の大谷に対するコミュニケーションの取り方について問題提起し、議論していました。
But the reality is that communication is not a strong point for the Angels. And what we're learning about the Angels, and maybe we just needed it to hit us in the face this weekend, is that the Angels communicate when it's convenient for the Angels, right?
Yes. Okay. Here's the thing. Yes. Of course, Ohtani got his locker ready. You and I tweeted from Lockdown Angels. We said, hey, you know what? This is really sad. But it probably means that he's going to go take care of the procedure and da-da-da-da-da. But Mike, the speculation ran wild.
Yeah.
And that's all on Angels PR for not getting out in front of this. Like, obviously they all had a plan of, yeah, you know what, Shohei, it sounds like probably need to shut it down for the season. Like, they all knew what was happening. They all knew what was going on. And then the fact that the beat writers essentially discovered his locker like that, everybody made a big deal of the water bottle in the trash. And I'm like, what else was in Shohei's trash? I wonder. What was in there? We should make that a whole segment. But then
what was in Shohei's trash?
But it's hilarious to me that, like, you didn't think that was going to be a big deal, guys.
Exactly. Like
大谷は2018年に続く2度目の右肘手術で、執刀医の声明によると来季の開幕から打者として出場でき、投手としての復帰は25年になる見通しだということですが、大谷は自身のインスタグラムで、
早朝に手術を受け無事成功しました。不本意ながらシーズン途中でチームを離れることになりましたが、残り試合のチームの勝利を祈りつつ、自分自身一日でも早くグラウンドに戻れるように頑張ります。
と綴っていました。大谷の代理人のネズ・バレロ氏によると、手術は投打二刀流で今後も長くプレーすることを望む本人の意向を踏まえたものになったとのことで、米国整形外科スポーツ医学会会長を務めた経歴を持つニール・ゲラトロッシュ氏が前回に続いて担当し、
負傷した箇所を修復し、肘の寿命を延ばすために生存可能な組織を追加して健康な人体を補強した
とコメントしています。これからも大谷の活躍から目が離せません。皆様からのコメントもお待ちしております。